What's up, guys? My name is Paul, also known as Kershak, the founder of the Amateur Battle League, and today we have some information for you guys in regards to the tiers for Season 4 of the Amateur Battle League. From Season 3 over to Season 4, there's been some changes. We used Amateur Battle League minors in between those two seasons in order to test some kinks out, and I think what we got together is something pretty unique to the doubles format. So in today's video, I'm going to be explaining some quick changes, laying things out there for you guys, that way it's clear and easy to understand. If you're a coach watching this video, there should be a whole laid out list of rules as well as some draft information for you guys ready to read in the server. If you guys are just watching because you're interested to see how things work, feel free to enjoy the video. Let's get on to it. So, first things first, you will be drafting 12 Pokemon. Season 3 had 11, ABL Minors had 11, Season 4, and this is going to be the complete cap, will be 12 Pokemon. Why 12? Because it's a doubles format, we want you to have the ability to have two different teams, technically. With that being said, however, there are some restrictions, there are some tiers, and we're going to go ahead and break those down. Restricted tier, which can only have one pick. Gigantamax tier, which can pick one Pokemon or more. S tier, which can pick one Pokemon or more. A tier, which can pick two Pokemon or more. And then the B and C tiers, which can both pick 3 Pokemon or more. And then finally, you have a free pick, one single free pick, which can be used on any tier other than the restricted, which means you can either have 2 Gigantamax tiers, you can have 2 S tier Pokemon in your team. However, it's up to you on how you use your free pick. First thing that we need to address, restricted tiers. This is a tier composed purely of legendary and mythical Pokemon. No other Pokemon will be in this tier, and you are only limited to one Pokemon from the restricted tier. You may not utilize any sort of free tier or at any given time have more than one restricted Pokemon in your entire 12 Pokemon team. This means Pokemon like Mewtwo, Reshiram, Kyurem, Necrozma, Zacian, Mew, Celebi, Jirachi, and even Zarude, when he's available, are going to be in this tier. Now, speaking of Zarude, the mythical Pokemon that will be implemented and introduced into Pokemon Sword and Shield in August, should everything remain the way it's been announced, Zarude will also be included into Season 4 of the Amateur Battle League. Zarude will not be available to be drafted as soon as the games are out, but Zarude will be able to be picked up in a transaction format after the season has begun. Now, moving on to the next tier is the Gigantamax tier. This tier is composed of Pokemon that have the ability to Gigantamax. That means that they have the Gigantamax factor. Now, in the rule set for ABL Season 4, the only Pokemon allowed to Dynamax or Gigantamax are Pokemon from within the Gigantamax tier. What does this mean? This means if you want to have a Charizard that Dynamaxes or Gigantamaxes, you must draft Charizard from the Gigantamax tier. This also means that Charizard will not be found anywhere else on the tier list other than the Gigantamax tier. This is the same for every single Pokemon that has the Gigantamax factor. So, Pokemon like Charizard, Pikachu, Lapras, Eevee, Corviknight, Colossal, Rillaboom, Cinderace, Inteleon, and Urshifu, just to name a few, will be in the Gigantamax tier. Now, talking about Urshifu. Urshifu has been split into 2 different Pokemon. You can have Rapid Strike Urshifu in the restricted tier, and you can have Single Strike Urshifu in the Gigantamax tier. What does this mean? This means if you want to Gigantamax or Dynamax your Urshifu, it has to be the Single Strike form. However, if you wanted Rapid Strike Urshifu, you cannot Dynamax or Gigantamax it because it will be from the restricted tier instead. This is the only case where a Pokemon appears in 2 different tier slots. And to close things off, I also want to introduce draft transactions. Draft transactions are a new feature coming to Season 4 of the Amateur Battle League, and basically it is just what it sounds like. During the draft, players will be able to conduct transactions amongst other coaches. What does this mean? We can't pick up any free agents, you can't just swap out your drafts, but you can trade with other coaches. So for example, let's say I got sniped in round 2. I can go ahead and conduct a trade with the coach that sniped me should they agree to it. Coaches would be allotted 2 draft transactions. And trading Pokemon is not the only way to use these draft transactions. coaches can also use these transactions to trade positions in the draft order. The draft will be a randomized snake draft as usual. However, coaches have the opportunity to use draft transactions to change their positions for that one round that they choose once they conduct the transaction. So for example, let's say I got sniped, and the only way I'm getting that Pokemon that I got sniped is by providing my draft spot, which let's say it's position 12, and a Pokemon to my opponent that sniped me. And let's say my opponent is smart enough to get that position when it turns around in a snake. I no longer get 2 wheel picks. I don't get a wheel pick anymore because I conducted that transaction with my opponent. My opponent is now going to get that wheel pick. I will draft my final pick of the round, and then my opponent picks their pick, and I pick where they would normally pick, all in exchange for 1 Pokemon and that transaction slot. That would cost us 2 points each, and we'd be done with transactions throughout the draft. However, it will add another layer to the draft format once we conduct it in Season 4. And like I said, that's all the time and all the information I currently have for both coaches and viewers alike for ABL Season 4 on how tiers and drafting is going to work. Make sure to stay tuned to the draft stream, which will be a 2-day event coming very soon. We'll have a date for that in the coming weeks. But until next time, take it easy. Peace.